This video is meant to inform you about a training tool which we call Water Jug Chats. The best way to think about Water Jug Chats is as a dojo where you're training to maintain something very important, a skill, an ability that is very rarely ever touched upon in any other training or meditation center. The Water Jug Chat Room is a training space to practice unified bodily awareness so as to take meditation out into daily life. The training, which the moderator may help to facilitate, is to remain aware of the unified bodily field while listening and speaking. Morning meditation begins at 7 a.m. and finishes at 7:15. The Water Jug Chat session begins at 7:20 a.m. Pacific. Please think of these two trainings as if they were one. You're at a dojo. Understandably, you might have to move from Zoom to one Zoom session to another. It may take a little time to get in. You may have to run and use the toilet or get a glass of water, I understand, but please try to be there by 7:20 a.m. Pacific. That's when the Water Jug Chat training officially begins. It opens before then, but officially it begins at that time. Once the session begins, the facilitator will lead members through a speed meditation, which will help to support your training with unified bodily awareness while listening and speaking. Your ticket to the morning Water Jug Chats is your attendance of the live daily meditation. Or for the afternoon sessions, your observation of the day's recording prior to attending Water Jug Chats. Please do not come without your ticket. There is a 3-minute time limit for participants to speak. Keep your conversation limited to today's meditation. Be respectful, which includes no bigotry or talking about politics or religion. Stay away from hot topics. After you finish speaking, take note of your capacity to remain aware of the unified bodily field by noting if you were deeply and calmly aware of the whole body while talking. Do not call out to people in the group. That is the moderator's function. No wallflowers. We will randomly call on attendees to train unified awareness. Before speaking, be open to the idea that you might be stopped at any moment, and then see if you can remain perfectly unified, calm, and clear in the body no matter what happens. That is the training. And so I'd like to share with you now a clip that I took during Water Jug Chat, which explains a little bit about where this training comes from. Thank you, Irene. All right, perfect. I thought I'd use this opportunity to share a little bit of a practice that Osaka Sensei, my teacher, and I used to do when we were exploring this meditation path and its martial relevance. We were interested in as being in a seamless awareness. Bodies were unified at all times, and we had maximal capacity of expression of harmony in the world. Because if you're in that unified state, of course, your language will improve, your physical movement will improve, everything will improve. And so we had a rather severe training method, of which Water Jug Chats is a very, very minor element. But one person, for example, would be seated on the floor, and the other would be circling that person with it's a bamboo sword. If you get hit with it, it's not exactly comfortable. The person on the floor is to remain in a meditated state while speaking. And they can tell stories, they can talk about what they're feeling, whatever it is. My job was to see if any point in the story or during the conversation, his unified body broke, became disharmonious in any way. And of course, during that moment, if I strike, I'll surely hit him. The same thing would be done when I'm seated and he's circling. And anytime there's a disharmony, he can strike. If he strikes before there's disharmony, it's very easy to resolve that issue. I will win. Or if he's in the seated position, he will win. What we noticed is when we got captured by our own story, when we were enamored with or hyper-focused on the content we were trying to convey, we could not remain in a unified state. If you asked, if someone asked me, I might think I was in awareness, but it's not a unified or fully embodied awareness. And so sometimes, rather rudely, in the middle of speaking something very important, the other person would tell them to stop or pause them, or even say, shut up, to see if the person broke from that pressure. Now, the person in the seated position, if they became perturbed or upset or annoyed or felt judged or not heard or whatever, of course, the unified field is broken and they will be hit. So not only do you get told to shut up, then you then get hit. It's rather severe training. Sometimes we would say rather rude things to each other. We would curse to each other and that sort of thing to see if it broke the unified field. If you take things personally, when you get interrupted, you're going to take it personally. If you're enamored with your story or you're trying to convey some very important point, if you have those as goals, when you're interrupted, the body will be annoyed. That's the training. The story is just the surface. Your talking is an important part of the training, but what you convey is not as important as the attitude and the unified attempt to maintain the unified awareness while conveying. That's what Water Jug Chats is. One of the most difficult stories Richard could tell at that time was his story of isness, his experience of oneness with all that is, because in his mind it was just so important, the most important thing in the world. And if Osaka Sensei didn't seem interested or said stop, boy, that would be an offense, right? And bam, then you get hit. Remember, the experiences that you've had in the past that are amazing and phenomenal and mystical, they are now memories. Telling them doesn't make it so now. Maintaining the unified field is far more helpful. You see it? Now, hopefully, many of you who've had mystical experiences or have a tendency to have profound experiences and would like to convey them can learn that lesson a lot quicker than Richard did. And the way you would do that is by embracing the structure here of Water Jug Chats and understanding that, like Osaka Sensei hit me with the stick, people will tell you to pause whenever you seem enamored with your story. They're going to tell you to pause. Even if they're wrong, if you get bothered and you think, I was not enamored with my story, oops, guess what? The unified field was broken because you got upset because they misread you and you took it personally. Do you get it? This is a tremendous opportunity to train in a way that you probably would never get anywhere else. Which is more important, the story, the spiritual knowledge that you're going to convey, that while you're conveying, you're not unified, or actually being unified? The spiritual knowledge is trivia. The unification may be the important thing. That's what we're aiming for here. If you want to just bathe and stew in spiritual trivia and knowledge and past experiences, you're welcome to do that, but don't come to Water Jug Chats, because that's not what we're doing. And briefly, I'll open up for any questions that anyone might have on that. Remember that there is a 3-minute time limit. If someone stops you at 3 minutes, don't ask to speak further. Don't ask to clarify. If someone stops you, don't say, but I was trying to say this. But let me clarify that. That's all the thing that breaks the unified field. Yeah. So the challenges are the practice. You just notice what pulls you out of this unified field. Notice what you take personally. It's not really you that's taking it personally. That's the real irony. And when you discover that, it's quite a shock. But you won't discover that until you go deep into the nervous system. It's not you that gets upset. It's not you that takes it personally. It's not you that reacts. But I don't expect anybody, in fact, I don't think it would be even wise for you to believe Richard. Test it out. Find out for yourself. Prove them wrong or prove them right. But this is the opportunity here to find out. Every single human word, every word in our language comes from the past. And everything that you think you are, everything that you think you know, everything that we think we are and know is of the past. Is it actually possible to speak using human language in the present? In a certain sense, no. In a certain sense, no. All of our perception, all we perceive is the past. Even the light which our eyes takes in, it takes time to process. By the time it's processed by the brain and seen, it's in the past. There's nothing that can be perceived that's not in the past. The question is, while speaking, are we actually feeling the unified body? That's what's meant. And the reason for keeping this exercise to the meditations is so that we don't go off into, what will I say here? Richard used to do this a lot. Stroking our spirituality would be a good way of saying it. There's a big trap that gets caught there. This is why we're trying to keep it very, very minimal. With Osaksen and I, we talked about whatever, but that was very advanced training. We're just trying to keep it very, very simple because honestly, even at this simple level, it's going to challenge us very, very deeply. Right? Do you see it? Now, there was another question, and that's just the, where the facilitators are. Irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And it should always be irrelevant to you if you're sincerely practicing the unified field within your own body. No measuring of other people. Otherwise, it breaks.